Hello folks, and welcome to this weather topic video. A little bit of a longer one today, as the question, what is Tornado Alley, is a lot more complicated than you might think, as usually when you think of Tornado Alley, you think of it being just the Midwest states. However, Tornado Alley is not static, and we will see that especially towards the end of this video. So, obviously, what is Tornado Alley and where is it at? As you can see in the two photos here, Tornado Alley is generally seen as going from South Dakota all the way into Nebraska, a little bit of Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Some maps even include Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and you can even have Dixie Alley shown up, which will be including Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, as well as probably South Carolina and North Carolina. So that's a really big region in the United States. Well, right in between the Rockies and the Appalachians, the Rockies spanning from Canada into Colorado, yes, and then down into Mexico, and the Appalachians spanning from Tennessee to New York, which are both north and south mountain ranges, the Appalachians being more southwest to northeast, but still, there is a very, very, very open area in the United States that is called the Great Plains. Spans from Ohio to Colorado, from Minnesota to Texas. Very big. This is the area that tornadoes are dangerously common in, not just these states pictured here in red on both of these maps, which, as you can tell, are actually different from one another. You will see Tornado Alley be depicted so differently because it varies with time, and again, we'll be going over that at the very end. This area, called the Great Plains, is where ingredients are able to form very rapidly, and we will go over what these ingredients are in just a second here. Before we go any further, I'll talk about this also at the very end. Tornado Alley, the term is wrong, but in the right way. Again, looking at that at the end. So, how does this region of the United States see so many tornadoes? The US, by the way, gets around 1,000 to 1,200 tornadoes annually, most of those being very brief and not very strong. However, of course, you can indeed get an EF3, EF4, and we haven't had an EF5 at the time of me recording this video since, May 24th? May 26th? May 24th? When did the Joplin tornado happen? 2011. Sorry, 2013. Oh my goodness, my mistake. It's not even Joplin. That was 2011. Apologies. You get what I mean. It has been almost a decade since a verified EF5. So that's good. We'd like to keep that up. But again, how does this region in the US see so many tornadoes? SLIM. That is an acronym that is widely used. It stands for shear, lift, instability, and moisture. Shear is going to be caused by winds. There are two types, directional and speed. Directional is a change in the wind direction with height, either up or down, because if it's there's a change going up, there's a change going down as well. It's just the reverse. And speed is normally an increase in wind speeds as you go higher up. You will almost always see these two in combination with one another, almost no matter the conditions, whether it's severe or just perfectly stable. Whether you have a low pressure or high pressure, it doesn't matter, because that's just the way the atmosphere works. Higher up there's less air resistance, things can go faster. Next is lift. Lift is going to be caused by fronts, as fronts force the air well in front of it to move upwards, therefore lift, and is also caused by surface heating from the sun. Since the sun provides heat, warm things tend to rise more than cooler air, which tends to stay lower down, which is also why cold fronts are more effective at moving air, as they form more of a wedge shape compared to warm fronts, which form more of like a dome. Instability is our next one here, I, and this is also going to be caused by the fronts as well as the sun. Warming up a parcel is going to make it lift and therefore also unstable at the same time. Moving and moving a stable air mass is going to cause it to become unstable, and then if you're forcing it to rise, so lift and instability are kind of hand in hand for the most part. There's a lot of moisture to be had. Warm fronts, which are named warm just because relative to the air in front of it, and same for cold fronts. Um, Warm air holds more moisture than cold air, which, fun fact, is why it can actually be too cold to snow. But moving on from that, there's also a lot of moisture down here. In fact, pure, raw, 100% moisture in this area. Don't know if you've heard of it. That's called the Gulf of Mexico. It's like a small pond, you know. The Great Lakes are obviously bigger. Um, I mean, it wouldn't be called. It's not the Gulf of Superior. It's not superior than Lake Superior, obviously. Um, that's a joke. There's again 100% pure unfiltered moisture right here. So, what is going to happen to this? Well, if a high pressure is sitting off the coast of the US, high pressures rotate clockwise at the surface. So you are going to be getting some clockwise air that, oh my goodness, look at that. That is pushing it right up north. And then, oh my goodness, this low pressure is rotating counterclockwise. And oh my goodness, look at that. Both of these things help with bringing warm, moist air northwards. Clashing that with some warm, dry air and also some cold, dry air is a nice little recipe for severe weather. Now, if you like severe weather, good. If you don't, that's also perfectly valid. Everyone doesn't like it when weather gets too severe. Hell, I love severe weather, but I sure as hell don't want a tornado hitting my house. I can tell you that much. I hope that you all feel the same as well. Also note that, like I stated, we have a very big area to play with here for lows to play with. This is a pretty unique area in the world. Um, there is the Great Plains is massive. Almost nowhere else in the world has two north-south mountain ranges that are essentially just funneling all of these ingredients. One of the few places is in Europe, and a third is around Middle Asia, if I'm not mistaken. Lastly, there is rotation. You can have extreme shear, you can have all of the lift, just all of it, as well as all the instability. You can have all of the moisture. However, if a updraft does not rotate, you will not get a supercell and you will not get a tornado. There are things called non-supercell rotations. Those are like your dust devils and waterspouts. A waterspout can still be tornadic, but you will not get a supercell if an updraft doesn't rotate. Only 3 to 5% of storms that happen in the US will pick up a rotating piece of air, which will then possibly cause the updraft to rotate. Granted, there are hundreds of thousands of storms that affect the US every year, so this number is high. that 3 to 5%, but it's still only 3 to 5%. Also note that the 1,000 to 1,200 tornadoes annually aren't caused by each one is not one supercell. Many supercells are cyclic, meaning that when conditions are right, a tornado might touch down. When conditions worsen, the tornado might lift, and then when conditions are good again, another tornado might drop from the same storm. That is called cyclic. That is cycling, recycling. So there's that. So just keep that thing in mind there. But again, rotation is the one thing that will cause a tornado. Almost nothing else will. Again, you can have non-tornadic things, non-tornadic rotations. So who exactly is affected by tornadoes in the United States? And also, dude, if you said that the term was outdated or just incorrect, what do you mean by incorrect in the right way? Yes, I will tell you, and I'll explain. First of all, I'm glad that you asked how many people were affected because over 17 million people are affected. This area, again, is spanning from the areas that I mentioned before, from Texas to Minnesota and Florida, and from Florida and the Carolinas all the way to Colorado. This is the only place on Earth that has two distinct seasons for tornadoes, mainly from March to May, and then from November to around February. Lastly, Tornado Alley, as you think of it, again, is not static. It shifts with time. And let's see here. In January, high pressures are usually off of the coasts, either both coasts of the US at the same time. High pressures, highs bully L's because L's are L's, that's why. Obviously, they're losers. And what we see is that low pressures and high pressures don't mix. They have to go around each other, one affecting the other to some extent. Low pressure goes around the high pressure into Canada, brings a bunch of cold air southwards, and then, oh my goodness, look at all that moisture that's there. That's some nice warm air there that's clashing with my cold dry air. Oh my goodness, I am producing severe storms. And then I am out of here. I eject to the east. Well, as we look at April, high pressures are not sitting as far north. So you see more of the central United States be affected, which is the classic tornado month of April and May. This is also what you can define as Tornado Alley. Texas is always going to be an outlier. It's the base of the contingent 48. So there's that. Also, Florida's a little bit of an outlier too because it's special in more ways than one, I'll say, to put it in the nicest way possible. And then as we look at July, we see that trend shift even further north into the high plains states of North and South Dakota, as well as Minnesota and Wisconsin, a little bit of Nebraska and Colorado to boot. Our high pressures are sitting a little bit even further south here and more inland, and that is going to force low pressures to stay northwards instead of sweeping a little bit further south to strike, getting more around the Colorado-Oklahoma area. Instead, they are going around the Colorado-Nebraska to Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota area. Oh my goodness, look at October. We see the trend starting to shift more south. So, as you can see here, monthly, Tornado Alley shifts with time. And as you can see, the deep south states, that being, again, Texas being an outlier, so Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida also being an exception, not seeing many tornadoes in July. So from around July to around August, and then you see an increase in October as tornado densities shift further south. So that's what I mean by wrong, but in the right way. Because again, thinking of Tornado Alley, first of all, you need to realize that it changes. However, when you think of it, you think of a very wide area in the US, which is correct because tornadoes do affect that wide area, but not all the time. As we see in January, look at how many states do not see very many tornadoes. It's from New Mexico to Montana and Montana to Maine. So usually the northernmost states don't see very many tornadoes. In April, we see much of what we consider the Midwest to see tornadoes. In October, we start to see in July, we see even higher concentrations of tornadoes northwards, with the deep south seeing a break. And then in October, we see that cycle start to trend back again further south. So it's wrong, but in the right way. If you are at least weather aware, then you will know what's going on, and you will not be caught off guard. Which is the most important thing, is to be weather aware. That is 100% the key to everything. Especially in a place like the Midwest, where tornadoes are dangerously common. Of course, you can see California being a little bit of an outlier here too, but we're not going to talk about that. So, that, folks, is all that I have for the pretty complicated question of what exactly is Tornado Alley. I hope that you all enjoyed this a little bit of a longer video, but I also hope that you did learn something from it as well. And if you knew all this already, then that's even better. I hope that I got it all right. I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.